Hey, man.
Hey, John, how are you?
Good. Sorry about the rigmarole.
No, that's it, man. I thought you it's cool. I thought you were hung up on the whole the invite thing because they put two links on it.
I think I was. I think I was in the Google Meet before. So, yeah, I just pulled up the calendar and hit the button, and it turns out there were two links in the same calendar. So,
Don't ask me
evidently,
why they do that. I don't know.
Google decides they're going to just take over that meeting, it looks like.
Hey, man, you got to kill off the competition by any means necessary, right?
Yeah, and so seeds the confusion.
Have you been the CEO the entire time?
Since 2015, and then I was able to buy it in 2017.
Okay. I mean, I like your wetsuits a lot. So I have the buoy, the wetsuit, and the skin suit. And the funny thing about that, like I bought the skin suit in 2019, right? In the first race I put it on, it ripped, but not because of like it's at the seams or anything, but the cheap timing chip got caught on my ankle and it got caught coming off and it cut like an 1.5-inch tear that I had to sew.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but it's like good thing it wasn't a product thing though. But yeah, but I was able to sew it, so it worked out pretty good. I learned a lot from my grandma.
Nice.
But yeah, the wetsuit's awesome. I love how I started off triathlon with the Xterra wetsuit, and when I got into the Helix, I'm like, oh wow. It is just my range of motion is so good. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, we work hard to create products. In fact, Lance, my product guy, is just about to head to the lake with 3 different samples to go swim in them and see what's feeling the best.
What's the water temperature out there?
We're pushing 70 now. It's probably 68, 70, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I'm in Atlanta, so it's probably like 85 by now.
Yeah, that's pretty warm. Actually,
Yeah.
I could look up the water temp right here. That can't be right. There it is. Yeah, we haven't checked in a couple of weeks, and it finally got warm here. So, it hit 70. It's 70.2 now.
Nice. Well, that's very. I want to say it's very handy. It comes in handy that you can test your wetsuits all year round without overheating.
That's right. There's a pretty strong open water swim community that swims year round. Most of them are out in Puget Sound when the water is 50-ish, 48, even midwinter. And that's something that I don't have the tolerance for, but there's an amazing amount of people who do.
Are they wetsuited up too? No, or no?
3 out of 4 are wetsuited up. There's the occasional person that just acclimates, and they got some insulation on their body and they get it done.
So I was overlooking the history of your company, and you guys had to be one of the first out there, weren't you?
Yes, we made I can't remember if it's the first. I believe it was the first triathlon specific wetsuit. No, we were the second. Dan Enfield was first. We were second. We were the second ever Ironman licensee behind Timex watches. So we started as Ironman wetsuits till the end of 2005. And then when you're Ironman wetsuits, you can't do anything but wetsuits. So we changed the name to blueseventy so we could do bags and goggles and apparel and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say the skin suit was a great innovation, and it came out of that time where like that whole shark skin technology that FINA ended up banning, right? That's kind of when it was designed, when it was starting to hit its peak.
Yeah, so Yamamoto makes it's a fabric, but it's very similar to rubber in that we'd call it closed cell. You can't blow air through it. So it's almost like a latex. So they did this very, very thin fabric that was closed cell, and then they could put the SCS coating that is on wetsuits on this fabric, which made them extremely fast. And so first we did it for triathlon, and then we took it into the pool they called it the technological doping during that kind of 2007 through 2009 time period. when the Speedo laser came out, the neck to knee suits were hot, and we had a really good competitive product. We won an Olympic gold medal with the suit, and then FINA decided they were tired of people breaking world records at every meet, so they came out with pretty restrictive rules as far as the suits you can swim in pool competitions. And then Ironman followed suit in that all fabric now needs to be what you'd call open cell, meaning you can blow air through it. So it's got to be a knit or a woven fabric. And really the suppliers that make such fabrics are pretty good at what they do. And the top end silicone impregnated fabrics are about as fast as the old Yamamoto fabric with that CS coating on it.
Yeah, I'm against, I mean, I'm all for, I'm one of those weird people who are all for doping. Because I want to see how fast you can go, right? If everybody can do it, the playing field's level, it's not doping. That's why about the whole doping, the swimsuit doping thing, it wasn't really doping to me because everyone could do it. You could choose not to if you don't want to.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. The big downside was, and to be fair, it's still like this. When you start dealing with juniors and 13, 14-year-olds, and Billy's got the tech suit and I don't, there's no way I could swim as fast as Billy, but the tech suit costs $300 or $400. That's a little bit of a problem, but as I'm saying that, I'm realizing there are $400 tech suits now, and so the problem is still there. Yeah, I think FINA, honestly, I think FINA didn't like the look of people in the blocks in a suit that went from their neck to their knee. I think it looks more genuine when you've got the men with the big pecs and arms that you could see, and the women, their suits just ended at the knees.
Yeah, everybody likes seeing a ripped dude up there.
Sure.
So what innovative products have you been working on that haven't hit the market yet, or have recently hit the market? I say, if you don't want to reveal any kind of trade secrets.
We are constantly playing with suit design, and it's been really interesting. Our first two, or at least our last previous two suit designers were very competitive, kind of sub 50 Ironman swimmers. One of them swam in college, and they were all about speed, which was great. Like, how do we make the suit faster? How do we make the suit faster? And they accepted that there was some amount of discomfort in a fast suit, say the extra tight neck, or they would just squeeze into really small suits. And the person who's doing our design now also does customer service for us, and he's a solid athlete, but he's an hour Ironman swimmer instead of a 49-minute Ironman swimmer. And between those two things, he's got a different perspective. And especially during the pandemic, when every 50-year-old woman in the country who's never even heard of a triathlon but swam in the YMCA pool 4 days a week, all of a sudden they were going into the open water. They needed wetsuits, and they all couldn't figure out why the suits were so uncomfortable. And certainly there's some learning to it, but there's also some like, well, wait a minute, why is our neck so tight? Or why can't we do these little things? What if we change the Velcro around in the back of the neck so it reduces chafing? Just little things like that. So we're always playing and trying to get faster suits, but the last couple of years really it's been playing around to get more comfortable suits, make people more comfortable when they're in the open water, and also reduce the amount of people who send their suit back because they can't get into it or they think it's too uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's one thing I'll have to give to you there, man. The Helix 2021 is what I got, and it's very comfortable until I put on weight, and then it doesn't fit. I got to lose a little bit more weight to squeeze back into it, but luckily it's summer and I don't need it right now.
There you go. Yeah, in Atlanta, you're probably not wearing it all that often this time of year.
No, and honestly, like Chattanooga that would be like my go-to race for early year, or there's not a lot of whole local stuff in May or April, but yeah, it's wetsuit legal then too, but I get too hot. I'm one of those people who like it really, really cold.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only time I wear a wetsuit, if it's really, really cold. Other than that, I could stand it. I'm like more acclimated to like pro temperatures, but that's because Georgia Tech's pool is held at like 77 degrees constantly or lower.
Okay.
We I'm an alumni there, and we benefited from the Olympics in '96 that we got the pool out of that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, man, what is the future of Blue 70? Like, you've got the goggles, you've got the bags, you've got the buoys, you've got the wetsuits, the skin suits. What else are you trying to branch off in?
Our pool swim market has kind of been on the back burner through the pandemic. Our race suits were admittedly getting a bit long in the teeth, so we just launched a new high-end race suit. We'll be launching a new mid-range race suit in the fall, and we've got a new youth under 12 suit, which can't be bonded; it needs to be stitched. So it's the pool competition, the 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds that are swimming the 200 fly and the 400 IM, that kind of suit. That was a robust business for us, and then when the rules changed, we lost a little bit of momentum, but we're making a big push in that over the next year, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Because Blue 70 wasn't into competition swimming suits back in, I last swam in 2004. So I don't remember Blue 70 being in the market then. I remember.
Yeah, it was that old Yamamoto fabric suit. So I think we launched it at the end of 07. 08, 09 were great. And then I think it was either later in 09 or in 2010, FINA changed the rules and just put a stop to it all.
Yeah, I was almost 100% sure you didn't get into it while I was still swimming. They converted me to water polo at Pitt, so I made the transfer to the dark side.
Nice.
So, as in terms of a marketing standpoint, how effective is it with putting your wetsuit on pros? I mean, how big of a driver is that, or do you have bigger brand recognition than just having the pros wear your suit? Because I feel like you guys are really popular even without being on pros.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And it's something we debate. And then would you rather have 10 pros in the start line you've never heard of, or only Lionel Sanders, is another big question. This day and age, in the last 3-4 years, things have changed so much in terms of media, both social media and YouTube channels and whatever else Lionel's on now. Is he on, I can't even remember. He's on another platform. Anyway, it's no longer enough to just be fast, and pros know that. I mean, you look at what Eric and Paula are doing, you look at what Braden Curry's doing, you look at what Lionel's doing, you look at what Heather Jackson's doing. They've got very significant media followings, and that's just not, here's a picture of me cycling, but they're hiring photographers, they're hiring videographers, or Eric and Paula are just doing it themselves, and they're creating actual really high quality professional level content. And so it's always good to be part of that, because as a brand, obviously we're in their content, but they also, part of the contract is they provide content for us too. I wake up in the morning and look at my phone and I've got 30 new photos from Talbot Cox, and bang, there's a whole bunch of pictures in Lionel and his helix. It's great. So we don't have to spend as much time going and trying to chase photos, because these people are providing photos and videos for us. So that is really, really important. The other part is we do like to stack the start line. We give out suits to pros that maybe don't have that media team. They don't get necessarily money contracts, but typically if there's going to be a photo of a swim at a triathlon, it'll be the starting line. And the more helix we can see in the starting line, the better. But it's a great question. I mean, how much does that really resonate with people? Just seeing those blue shoulders at the starting line, I think everybody's kind of used to it. Would helix sales go down if you didn't see as many blue shoulders, if we didn't give as many out? It's a really good question. And then the other part, going back to the pandemic, is we have a really significant customer base that are only open water swimming. They've never heard of a triathlon. They have no interest in doing a triathlon. They could care less about pro triathletes. So, when I'm selling $300 wetsuits to 60-year-old women who want to swim in Puget Sound for 10 minutes at a time, it doesn't really make sense to be writing checks to pro triathletes. It's, these are all things that we're trying to kind of analyze constantly.
Because I've dabbled into this open water swimming myself. I've done a couple of races Nothing longer than 4.5 miles though. I can't do more than that. Feels like an
That's a
eternity.
that's a long swim. Yeah, 5K is the limit for most people, and that's a good chunk more than that.
Yeah, and it was in the Tennessee River, so I'm not going to call it like there was a little bit of a current with that. But I have I'm going to be wearing my Blue 70. I got invited to come to the Mackinac Bridge swim, which connects the Upper Peninsula and Lower Peninsula of Michigan. And I got invited to that, and he's like, "You're gonna want a wetsuit." I'm like, "I got just the one I got, for it." Because it can be 67 degrees, which is perfectly fine by me. But if there's an easterly wind, it'll kick up that cold water from the deep, and then it'll be like 50 degrees.
Makes a difference, and you get the buoyancy, right? I mean, how long is that swim?
4.3 miles.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it'll be a whole lot easier in a wetsuit and faster.
Yeah, and I'm like, we'll put this helix to the test too, because the further you get offshore, the more the temperature will drop, just because it's the Great Lakes.
Sure.
And I remember I did Lake Logan Tri. So this is my first comparable experience to this. I did Lake Logan Tri, which is up in the mountains in North Carolina. And most of the swim is in a warm lake, right? But it's fed by a mountain river. And you have to swim out the river upstream to get to the dock, to get out to go to transition. So it's 150 yards of freezing cold water where it drops from like 70 to 50. And I felt that like on my hands and stuff. It took my breath away, but I never felt it in my core, which was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, that sounds like a challenge. Plus, you're swimming upstream.
Yeah, it's only a mountain river, so it's not like a huge thing, but it was nice. So I guess the question I want to get you out on here is, why did you want to buy the company? I don't really know the profit margins in every different component of a triathlon, to where in the industry where how profitable it is. But I mean, I've had tri shop owners try to get me to buy into their store, or different product companies that I've worked for in the past try to get me to take on their business. And I just, without looking at the books, I'm like, I don't know if you would consider it like a cash cow, or, what made you want to buy this company?
Oh, it certainly wasn't a financial thing. Certainly, I don't think anybody's getting rich selling triathlon wetsuits. It's a lifestyle thing. I was an athlete I did my first triathlon in 1998. And when I got out of college in 2000, I went and worked at a running store for 7 years. And then when I left the running store, I went right to blueseventy, and I've been here since. And so since, fall of the year 2000, I've been in the endurance sports industry, and it just matches my lifestyle. I went from a triathlete to a bike racer. Now I'm actually back to swimming a good amount. And I couldn't imagine being in another industry, and, I could go work for somebody else, or I had the opportunity to, have my own company. And I'd been working there for 10 years at that point. So I knew the ins and outs. I'd done everything from standing on the beach, demoing suits, to going to Asia and touring the factories, to, forecasting and cash flows and marketing and all the parts of it, because we're a small company, and everybody kind of wears every hat. So, my wife and I were able to come up with the ability to acquire the company, and no regrets. I mean, certainly a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of stress, but nonetheless, I get to travel the world and, go to an open water swim in Auckland, and then go to Challenge Roth, and then go to an open water swim in the UK, and go to Lake Placid, and go to San Diego. I mean, it's a pretty good lifestyle. So there's a lot of pluses and a lot of minuses, but I've got no regrets whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm actually going to Roth next year. I got a slot, so that'll be interesting for me. And I know you can wear a wetsuit for that, so I'm really excited, because I love the feel of that helix.
That is the best race in the world. I've been tons of races. I've done Kona 3 times. Racing Roth is like nothing else. 250,000 spectators on the course.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do it. And I didn't know, like, I had come out of full distance retirement for this because I hadn't done one since 2017. And like, I had a hard time getting one in there. I didn't have swim canceled or whatever. So it took 3 tries. I'm like, all right, I'm done. But then I got that itch again. I'm like, well, if I'm going to scratch the itch, then I want to do it once and that's it. I don't want to keep doing it. So I picked Roth and I got a slot and it was like, oh, this is awesome.
Great. Good for you.
To follow that up though, what are you looking for when you tour factories in Asia? Like what is like on your checklist?
These days, at least in our industry, all the factories, to the best of our ability to check, are very ethical. They don't have children. They don't have children working. They're all adults. They're actually skilled laborers because of the nature of this product. I don't really have any concerns about the integrity of the factories that we're working with. So then it comes down to their quality. Is their gluing and their stitching strong enough to hold? I mean, we've been fortunate. We've been with the same wetsuit manufacturer for 20 years, and they make 100% of our wetsuits, and they do an excellent job. So, but it does help when you're designing a suit to go to the factory floor and see how they're made, so you could keep in mind this is how they do the seams. We don't want to seam shaped this way because it's a more difficult cut or a more difficult sew, which would in turn, potentially fail. So let's not make that seam such a, sharp angle or something like that. And then outside of that, we use a variety of manufacturers for goggles and swimwear and bags. And it's just a matter of going to their showrooms and understanding what they have to offer and the ideas that they can have and helping you design things and going from there.
Does your designer have to stitch and glue their own like prototypes by hand, or do they work with someone?
No, we absolutely work with the factory. We tell them, I mean, at this point, we're starting with existing suits and saying, okay, here's the 2018 Helix, and we want to move this seam here, and we want to add, for example, we had the foam in the back, and now we're going to move the foam to the front, things like that. And then we swim in it and get it on pros for them to swim in and get their feedback and go from there. But it's certainly the factory. They'll have what's called a sample room where samples cost more money than production suits. So if you're going to do a lot of samples, you got to put an investment into it. But that's the only way we know to just keep going, keep testing things until you find something that you really think works.
Great, man. All right, John, thanks for giving me a little bit of your time today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure.
Take it easy, man. Maybe I'll see you around. Are you guys going to Roth again next year?
I know that I'm hoping to next year. I mean, that race is in 2 days, so obviously I had to skip it this year. But talked to the wife the other day about taking her out there next year, and maybe I'll race it, and maybe I'll just drink beer and watch it.
Well, I'll shoot you an email closer to that, see if you're coming, and maybe we can meet up because I don't speak any German.
All right. Sounds good. Stay safe out there.
You too.